Welcome back, fam, to another episode of the Dr. Eric K. Coleman Show. If you have not already, please, ma'am, please, sir, click the like, share, and notifications tab. And most of all, subscribe to the platform so that you can stay abreast with all information and content pertaining to this platform. I got a special episode for you today. I'm going to introduce you to my lovely bride, Nikki, by means of an interview that we had roughly about 3 years ago. This was right after our 11th year wedding anniversary. We were doing a Valentine's Day documentary, uh, asking people within the church about their love journey from all aspects of courtship, early on stages in marriage, and how you have progressed in your relationship and marriage. So there was a series of questions that were being asked, and I will guide you through the clip as we go back down memory lane, as we take a journey looking at the answers of the real life perspective pertaining to the relationship goals between Nikki and I. So let's go ahead and get into the clip, and we will unpack this thing in regards to relationships on a more personal note, from vantage point of my wife and I. My name is Eric Coleman.
I'm Nikki Coleman.
And we've been married for 11 years now.
I officially met New Year's Eve going into 2007. I saw him at Watch Night service at church, and for some reason, I didn't like him. I don't know. I don't know why.
That is the running joke. Anytime that we tell anybody about our story, we started dating 2007 September, and we were married by December of that same year. And anytime anyone asks us about how we started off, this always gets a chuckle out of everyone because she states that when she first met me, she didn't like me. So here we go.
But let it go. Didn't think about it. Realized that we both sang, so we sang in the choir together. We sang on praise team together. Just became really good friends. Um, and one day, he was coming in from choir rehearsal, and I didn't just see a friend walking in. I was like, huh, he's kind of cute. And, just kind of, I volunteered to be the alto that went and sat with tenors. I knew he was sitting on the end. And we continued to together. Jump in if you want. And then, like, a little bit after that, one evening, a bunch of girls, friends of mine, we were getting ready to get in the car from rehearsal to go see a movie, and he called me over in the parking lot and wanted to talk to me and told me I don't have any game, but he wanted to ask me out.
That is completely accurate. I have no game.
And so, of course, as I go back to the car, everybody's like, what did he say? So, and that's how it started.
How did I propose? Well, it was actually twice. It was one informal and one formal. Um, we were actually planning our wedding before the proposal even happened. Yeah, we're still trying to figure that one out. How in the world were we planning the wedding before the proposal happened? Reason being, we were talking of just merging our lives together. We weren't for games. We laid everything out on the table about ourselves. We made sure that there was full transparency, and we made the decision. Let's go ahead and do this thing. Why are we waiting? It made no sense to just beat around the bush. I knew I wanted her. She knew she wanted me. Let's go ahead and make this thing official. But it was quite interesting that I hadn't even formally proposed yet, but we were sitting here planning out the wedding, what month, the time frame, looking at the dates, things of that sort. So it was kind of putting the cart before the horse, but for some reason it just worked out. I would not, to anyone, advocate for a speedy courtship as we did, again, 3.5, 4 months. But I will say, when a man knows that this is the woman that he desires to be with, he knows it does not take a man long to know this. And quite frankly, this is geared towards the ladies out there. Ladies, um, the man that is designed and created for you, caveat, not everyone is meant to be married. But I will say that not every man will change for a woman. Not every man will change for every woman. I'm going to say that one more time. Not every man will change for every woman. It doesn't mean that you are a bad person. It doesn't mean that that guy is a bad person. It just means that you guys are not meant to be. So stop trying to force a round peg in a square hole. If it will be, it will be. So I just want to give that little caveat there. A man knows, and do not go through life wasting your time on people who you want them to love you and they don't, and they're playing games and things of that sort. Just going back to where we're talking about the red flags. Red flags are very clear in the beginning. If you're not willing to sit down, talk, be transparent, have mutuality, and understanding where the other person is coming from, you're already setting yourself up for failure. And when we make these decisions to move forward into relationships with somebody, we've already made the decision to do it. And then we want to say that they've changed or whatnot down the line. So, all that to say, be very careful who you select when you're talking about this thing called marriage. Don't know how that worked out. Um, but it was a intimate, private proposal that I gave to her. We were having dinner one night, and so popped the question there. But then I had a housewarming party. I had just moved into a new apartment, and so invited a lot of friends over. And um, little did she know, she was planning her own engagement party. So everyone on the guest list knew what was coming down the pipeline, but her, because she thought it had already taken place. Everything was already done. So
I think the more special one was the very first one. It was literally a regular night, right after dinner, washing dishes. When Miles and I went over, I had already had my oldest son, and Eric just got down on one knee in the kitchen while I was cleaning up, and he asked, "You want to come in?" That's funny. I think for me, the most romantic thing, and I don't, he might not even remember this.
the question that's about to come here, or what the question that she's about to answer, they ask us what was the most special gift that I had ever given her. So she's about to explain that.
But it was a Mother's Day actually, and I think my our oldest was 10, and so it was kind of like the 10-year anniversary of me being a mom, and it was really sweet. It was a basket of letters and different little trinkets, and basically it was a letter to kind of commemorate each year of being a mom and just kind of recognizing that, and that just meant a lot to me. That he It's just a big deal for, especially when you're, as we with all those little details, those little things that make you tick as a mom and as a wife. So I think that was probably one of the most romantic ones for me.
So what I did was, as she stated, when I came into the picture, our oldest son, Miles, uh, was 3 years old from a previous relationship, a previous marriage of hers. And at the, I want to say roughly around the 7 year mark of our marriage, it marked the 10th year of her being a mom. And I believe Noah was right around the age of about 5 at that moment. What I did was, for the 10 years that she had been a mom, there was something that I put into the basket that commemorated each year as a milestone to remember her by. So it was took a long time to try to figure that gift out. It took like a month or so to try to really figure out what could I give her for each year of being a mother, which quite frankly, she's coming up on her 20th year of being a mother. So I got to start the mental Rolodex about that, because our oldest son is 18 and he'll be 19 come this coming March. So it's vastly approaching. So let's continue.
I feel like communication has been kind of our biggest challenge and our biggest, actually, kind of the part of our journey that has actually shown the most growth for us individually and together.
And
Because
this
there
part
are
here is
certain
talking
things,
about
I
our
don't know
greatest
if
challenges and
anyone has had those
struggles
moments
in our
of,
relationship.
looking in the mirror and knowing things about yourself, and you're just saying, well, that's just who I am, and making that statement. But when you're in a marriage, and if you really want to connect, that just who you are might not work for the two of you.
And man, remember, we're always talking about that. The statement of "that's just who I am," that is detrimental. It's selfishness, and it's a deliberate cop out for you not to take personal responsibility and accountability.
And it forces you to have to look in the mirror and make changes. If you're not willing to make the change for yourself, make the change for him. And it was actually easier to do it for Eric. We all come with our own background, our own, emotional
Our
history,
own
social history,
baggage.
parent history, that shapes who we are. And Eric is the one person in my life that allows me to be vulnerable about those things that aren't so great, that I don't like in the mirror, and has been patient enough with me to walk me through figuring out how to be who God wants me to be. And so he's allowed me to go through this journey, the crying, the tears. And I just feel like we are on a much better place today. I mean, still, you still have, I think it's a lifelong
Mhm.
challenge, but I think you're in a
Absolutely.
really good place.
Yeah. Showing each other that common grace, knowing that we're still growing individually.
Yeah.
Um, so not taking it for granted, or not dismissing the fact that we're trying to grow together, we're still growing individually. And when you're growing individually, you got to find a ways to still grow together, even individually, where it's personally, spiritually, emotionally, whatever that is. So even after 11 years of marriage, um, still understanding that there's still more to Nikki uh, that I have to learn. There's the way that she processes, the way that she thinks, the way that she expresses herself, the way that she um, views things, and that's constantly evolving. So just being very cognitive, and being very, quite frankly, being transparent with one another. Um, to be able to have those hard conversations about, I don't understand this, can you explain that, and just not being afraid to ask the question, and furthermore, more important, not being afraid to hear the answer behind it. So that's what I think. And we got to really embrace that, fam. um, a lot of times we ask questions, we want to know information, but in our heart of hearts, do we really want to know the truth that people will present? And what we've talked about in previous conversations, when we hear this information, do we take it to really try to understand what the other person is dealing with, where they're coming from, where their thought process lie? Or do we embody it and flip the script to make their emotions, their lived experience, their perspectives all about us, to where how you are, how you feel, this how it affects me? Again, that's complete and utter selfishness. So we got to really take into account, do we really want to know the truth before we ask the question?
Good answer, babe. I don't know. I only it's only two words for me. It's really grace and mercy. I mean, we know we have grace and mercy from God, but I think a marriage. Well, I know a marriage is every day that grace and mercy has to be there. It gives you that room to fumble and learn who you are and who you're supposed to be. And I think in our marriage, I mean, and I'm sure it's like this for all marriages, but you know, God made Eric for me. Because all the weird things about Nikki, I don't know how many people could actually um, deal with who I am and how complicated some things with me can be. But God knew what He was doing when He put Eric in my life. God, God does everything perfect, and just the way He has orchestrated our family, God, Eric gives me the room to really continuously seek up how to be a wife. He allows me that room. He allows me to um, have him covering our whole family and being able to lean on him and rely on him. And that's everything for me.
I will tell anyone who is thinking about marriage, who just got married, who is married, number one, never stop being who you are. Because at the end of the day, you are still your own person. Um, Number two, marriage is not about you. It's and marriage is not. I've learned. Let me stop there for a second. We talk about this point quite a bit here on the platform, but I really want to drive that point home. Marriage in itself, and I'm going to explain a little bit more in detail here, so I won't go overboard with it. But marriage in itself is not solely for the purpose of what can I get out of the situation. We got to really understand that. A lot of people are so in love and engrossed with the idea of marriage, but are you really in love or engrossed with the person that you are engaging in this relationship with when we talk about marriage, or for any relationship for that matter? Are we getting into relationships just solely for our benefit? And so now I'm going to unpack this a little bit more here in my dialogue. That a lot of people uh, chase the idea of marriage, but we never want to really ability or the ownership of marriage. And so until you really battle within yourself to see what marriage is really supposed to be scripturally, to where, uh, Christ says it all the time through scripture about marriage is supposed to be for perfecting, it's chastising, it's purging, it's gut wrenching. It shows you who you are. It shows you that you're not as good as you think you are. You're not perfect. The other person that you're with is not perfect. It's a messy thing that God is really showing you about yourself, and it's supposed to draw out of you who you really are, so that you can really fall to your knees and really understand that you need just what you said, that grace and mercy. Again, this conversation was done roughly 4-ish years ago, and this wasn't planned or scripted or anything like that. To where it's the same information that I'm saying right now before this platform was even a concept in my brain, before I had even written the book Paradigm. Um, these were the things that I was speaking about back then as to the crux and the groundwork of practical stuff that I was using in my relationship, that Nikki and I were using in our relationship from day one. So again, I just really want to drive home the fact that this is just not stuff in the book that I'm just tossing out there as a nicety. No, this is practical stuff. This is really a framework, a type of thinking, a type of practical action that you can use on a daily basis to guide your relationships. So when we talk about this thing called marriage, if you're entering it just because of your sole purpose and desires of how you want to get the benefit out of it, we're already starting on the wrong foot here. Marriage is to draw out everything within you so that you can come together and make each other better. And so I just really want us to understand this concept here. That is the point of marriage, to make each other better. It's not always about your benefit of what you're not getting out of the situation. And ultimately, marriage is supposed to draw us to the feet of Christ. Absolutely. That's it.
Individual basis and together. And if you turn marriage to draw closer to each other only from what you can get out of the relationship, you're doing it for the wrong reason. Because marriage is supposed to draw you to the heart of Christ.
Absolutely.
And marriage, as he says, the bridegroom and the bride, that's the symbolism of Christ and the church. And Christ is perfecting us to present us to God one day. He's purging us, he's making us pure. And me and man, if you want a bride, then you have to be willing to do the work to cultivate and cleanse and purify your wife so that one day you can present her to the world as the beautiful bride that she's supposed to be.
I think it's keep your marriage between the two of you.
Yeah.
You, me, Eric,
Remember, we talk about that a lot. Be careful who you put in your relationships.
God, this is where we consult and this is where we communicate. And it may sound completely opposite, but part of that also is make sure you have some couples to walk with you. We have tons of friends, but I can only think of two couples that we can sit and be vulnerable about the bad stuff in our marriage, the hard stuff, and be okay to talk about it. You have to have that. Just because you have to have someone who is walking that walk, just like the two of you. Of course, not the exact same scenarios, but you need those people to hold you accountable and who will also, keep it in the confines of that circle because they know what you stand for and what you want and are really rooting for your marriage. You want to make sure you keep a tight circle like that. I think that's been important, definitely.
So that was the summation of the interview that my wife and I had. So that gave you a snapshot overview as to what Nikki and I, what we stand on, how we met, how we've progressed in our relationship, some of our founding principles, the groundwork that we have laid and established to get us to the point to where we are today. And I'm very blessed and pleased to say that this December, 2022, will mark 15 years of marriage. And so it's just been a true blessing, a wonderful ride that we've been on together these past 15 years. Has it been easy? By all means, no. But it's been rewarding, it's been eye opening. It has buckled me to my knees from the perspective of Eric is not as good as he think he is. Eric is not as strong. He's not as smart. He's not as in tune or sensitive or all those things that we want to throw out there. This thing of masculinity and whatnot. But it has really forced me to stand strong as being the husband and father that I need to be in my household. It has shown me how to be vulnerable, how to uh, train and cultivate my boys, which are 18 and 13 years old, helping them cross over into this thing called manhood, and to shape their minds in the way that I treat their mother and how I engage with them in this household as to what a godly man is supposed to be, how he is supposed to treat his wife, how he is supposed to treat his children, and not only stopping there, but also to show my boys what it is that they're supposed to expect from their future brides. It's a two-way street. So again, family, I thank you for taking the time to walk with me through this snippet of a journey of my relationship. And I just want to drive this point home to make it practical, to show you how critical it is to do our work, how critical it is to dig into our backpacks, to understand why we are the way that we are, and move beyond that and not be selfish, that we have to take personal accountability and responsibility to do the work to be better so that we can effectively show up in our families, in our communities, in society, in our nation, and that we will be better for it, and that we will affect change, and that we will impact the world. So until next episode, continue to think differently about relationships.